working for some of my Mastodon. Oh, thank you, Kate. Some of my Mastodon toots go across to Blue Sky. Okay, but if anyone's over on Blue Sky, we'll give you a shout out for us. And also, if he's there in the bottom left-hand side, look at me in tears. This is me in tears the other day. I hadn't realized that because the original random name generator that we were using back in 2006 and 7 was made in Flash. So the original one was a one-armed bandit fruit machine, and I really, really, really liked it a lot. But we'll use the roulette wheel tonight. But that is courtesy of one of the most generous teachers that we know. Russell, I don't know if he's still in the international school in Toulouse. John, is he still there? John Mayo, you might know where Russell Tower is. Oh, okay, frozen. But anyway, classtools.net has a load of really useful items in it. Toulouse. Yeah, okay. So big shout out to Russell Tower as well, and a thank you. So I'm not going to stop sharing, and now I'm going to see how can I be now I want to get to the actual thingy itself. So you are screen sharing. Now I want to be able to navigate around my screen, move you all over the place. Oh, sugar. Sorry, I'm not. I'm going to give one of you this job the next time, definitely. Close the PDF. Share my screen. Here goes. Oh, now I've lost where to share the screen. You know something? Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to nominate the first speaker, if that's okay with everybody, and then I'll play with my random name generator in a few minutes. And I'm going to call on, okay, watch now, Paul Behan, Paul from the NCCA, and Paul is one of the several people tonight who are going to address AI, I think. Is that it, Paul? And you can take the screen share and show us your presentation yourself. That good for you, Paul?
Perfect.
Paul's not on my screen, but here he is.
Sorry, I'll just bring it.
No probs. No, this is the joy of it all. If we were in the pub, everyone would be just slurping back and wouldn't pass any heat, wouldn't be looking at you at all.
No. I'll put it into okay.
Thank you.
Hopefully that's okay, is it?
That's good. That's great.
Yeah. This just be a couple of minutes. It's just really we're kind of in the process of kind of looking at maybe working with just TUD and just commissioning a kind of a TY module on AI, and I just thought it'd be nice to just throw out what people think envisage would be in a very, very short module in TY on AI, and just to get people thinking about it. That's all. And a few people in CESI have very kindly agreed to have a look at it as well and test out some of the resources that are being developed. So it's very much at the kind of developmental stage. So what would an AI module in TY look like? Is there an appetite? Is there a need? Who teaches it? Which students should do it? What students could do it? And one of the things when we were kind of scoping it out was who teaches it, and the ideal answer would be like anybody who kind of really wants to learn about it and in the process learn about it as well as the students. So this is actually a very interesting paper that just I was reading and we were sharing it. It's a UNESCO paper, and what they did was they looked at a curricula that were offering AI and government endorsed AI or commissioned AI curriculum or private ones, and they were just looking at what was in common across them all from primary up to what they call upper secondary, which is our senior cycle. And what they found was they divided it into three areas. One is AI foundations, which, as you can see on the right hand side, which is an excerpt from the report, is algorithmic programming, data literacy, cleaning data, etc., and then contextual problem solving. And then the next part was just that they all seem to have was an ethics and social impact. So this is looking at the ethics of AI, the impact on society, etc., and then understanding using and developing AI, and that's understanding what they differentiate between techniques and technologies, which is very interesting. So the techniques is kind of like the machine learning supervised unsupervised behind it, and that the technologies is just using natural language processing, the chat gpt, that type of thing, and then computer vision, etc., and sensors. So they seem to be three things that kind of were of huge interest to all the different jurisdictions that they kind of surveyed and looked at. And most of them were in the AI foundations. I think something like 90% of them all taught AI foundations, and only a small amount went into understanding and developing them. Um, what we're doing is looking at the possibility of a thing called a TY micro module, which is a new kind of module for the new transition year program statement, and it's just to provide a concentrated experience within the parameters of the new statement, a standalone component, or it can be integrated. It can be 10, 20, 30 hours. The huge flexibility in it, but they would be designed for one of those three, and then the flexibility for the schools to decide what works best for them. So the content that we were kind of looking at was like, what is AI? How do you get past the human algorithm? Using an actual machine that would students can influence and put data into without having to know any code. The teachable machine, which is one kind of technology that's out there. Then the importance of data quality, data sourcing, large language models, all very kind of like not going into any massive depth, but at the same time not being over trivial either. And it's basically coursework focused as well. So the students would look at developing using generative AI to look at, say, news, develop their own kind of artifact. Um, so this is kind of like what some of the learning outcomes are kind of looking like. Now, as I said, it's at a developmental stage, and we're kind of just what I'd be really interested in is, like, in it is, if anybody does have any ideas on it that would further this, would be great. But this is kind of where we're thinking, and so you can see there, like, it's what is AI beyond the human algorithm, teach machine data, etc. on the right hand side, and the learning outcomes are very, very few of them, which is understand better how AI works. You can read them by yourselves, examine the different potentials of it, and also to look at the data and the potentials for bias, the ethical considerations, and just explore the different abilities that AI has at the moment. So it's very much a kind of like a project based learning that the teacher kind of facilitates. That's kind of what we're aiming for. Um, so that's really just to spark an idea for for people. If anybody has an ideas of what they think should be I'm sure everyone has an idea of it, but to actually come up with it and fasten it down is actually quite difficult. So this is just to open that conversation, really. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul. I was going to say, maybe, Paul, can we put it on hold till we see the others
Yeah, no,
that are going to
absolutely.
come
Yeah,
through
yeah,
at the
perfect.
different levels? But I'm just
Perfect.
wondering who in the room is teaching TY? Natalie, are you second level, ain't you? I
Sorry.
think.
Sorry, yeah, I'm second
Yeah.
level. I teach because I'm special ed, and I'm kind of
Okay.
I do a lot of admin and stuff. So do I have any fourth years this year? I don't have any fourth years this year. I'm working with a couple of LCA students. We're working on an interesting AI tool called Living the Life at the minute.
Okay.
Um, so it's based on what happens after they leave school. Pick a
Okay.
job, pick a place, pick a way of travel, and they have to work through a year to see if they still have enough money left over at the end of the year. It's kind of cool. Anyway,
Okay.
sorry,
Okay.
I'm not supposed to be
No,
presenting.
cool. No. Hold that thought as well. Pat Seaver, I'm looking at second level. John Hegarty. So, we'll come back to Paul's, and I know, Dermot, you're going to be talking about primary level, and then Kieran, you're doing a overview. I'm going not quite alphabetically, but I see the letter H looking at me. Kieran Hanrahan, would you do your overview?
Sure.
I met Kieran last weekend in Mayo, and we were looking at an overview of AI in HE. So, Paul, this 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 is where your students would be moving towards. And I'm inclined to say, will we look at all of these and then pull from each other as the evening as the evening goes on. Kieran, do you want to share screen and
Sure, no problem.
go
Can you hear
for
me okay?
yes? And I'll give you 5 to 7 minutes.
Okay.
Right.
Now I have never shared on Zoom before.
Don't worry, don't
Apologies.
worry, don't worry.
So, and this is a
That's looking
live
good.
map. Can you see that okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I will, now this is very large, but I'm just going to cover a small piece of it. So what I was looking at, because I'm just about to finish a PhD, and it's not actually in AI, but I used a lot of AI in it, was the problems and opportunities with AI in higher education. And obviously this applies similarly to other forms of education. I'm interested in further education, but it would apply to secondary and even primary school. And what you find when you look at it in sort of a landscape kind of way is that there are 6 fundamental problems or challenges with AI. One is academic integrity and AI facilitating cheating, which is what they describe it as in higher education. The second one is the whole issue of authentic assessment and standardization, and the issue of, well, how do you know that the student is actually doing the work and the work is that of the student? And the third one is to do with data privacy and security concerns, which are substantial. The fourth one is to do with the digital divide and equity and access. So how do you allow for students, some of whom come from very privileged backgrounds, who can pay for every single AI tool there is, and others who can't afford anything other than that. And the last two are the impact on critical thinking and other skills acquisitions. And I came across a really interesting piece today from Denmark in relation to 7 hidden challenges around this, around thinking processes that you're trying to get students to develop. And then the final piece is adapting curricula and growing AI literacy in a general space. Now, within this model that you can see here, I've actually put in 3 potential issues for each of these. Now, there can be more. This is just a model. But without going through the detail of it all, what actually happens is when you start addressing these challenges, whether it's AI detection or adapting the curriculum or looking at process-based learning, what you actually find is that there are 4 outputs or 4 solutions that actually work, that actually tick all the boxes for all these issues. So you can have output A, which is a revised set of assessments that accounts for and promotes both AI and non-AI skills. That addresses a huge number of the concerns and issues around it. The second one is a non-AI process-based learning and tasks, including continuous assessment. So a little bit like the project that Paul was talking about earlier. The third one is to control access to AI tools and require self-declared use of premium AI at no penalty. And there is actually a solution out there that I'm looking at now. It's called Boodlebox, and it looks to be excellent in relation to this. It's a brand new startup out of San Diego, but it seems to have really cottoned on to this, and it's already linked to about 60 universities in the States. And then the final piece is a research methods piece, which obviously is to do with higher education, which would focus on explaining how to use AI appropriately within research and focus on tutorials as much as lectures. So I suppose what the point is that I would like to make this model available to people, and let them comment on it and come back to me and say, well, you know what you need to include here, or you need to take that out, or whatever. But to look at it and see whether it makes sense at whatever level you're operating in within the educational system or not. That's really it. That's where it fits. I have some thoughts, Paul, in relation to the kind of curriculum you could develop for TY students. I think it's a brilliant idea. I think the students would tell you as much as anyone else about how to use it, because they are phenomenally knowledgeable and they share information far faster than lecturers or administrators in universities or anywhere else. But that's basically it, and I'm happy to try and answer any question or take any feedback at all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kieran. Paul, I'm just after suggesting you put your email in the chat there. Kieran, I think you should put yours in as well.
Sure.
Actually,
Yeah.
that's not a bad idea. As each person finishes, put in their email so that we can find each other and contact each other. And John Mayo, you've put a great suggestion there. Those of you who are in Blue Sky, will you find each other? And Kate, will you put the CESI the CESI Blue Sky? I'm staying out in the sticks in the Fediverse. But Kate, will you put in the CESI Blue Sky as well? Please. So I'm hearing stuff from Paul now and from Kieran, and maybe go with one more. And then I go back to my random. I'm gonna call in Dermot, who's looking at it from a completely different set of lenses. Dermot, are you good to go?
Yep, I am, Max. Thank you very
And
much.
then as questions start to whirl around and people I'm seeing synergies already, we'll get somewhere. Right, Dermot, off you go.
Okay, so I've been using, so I'm a teaching principal in a primary school in County Mayo, and it's a small 3-teacher school. And I have been using ChatGPT with the students from an SET teacher's perspective over the past 3 months. What are we? September, October, November. So we'd have a group of students with a very different range of challenges and supports and all that are needed. So we started looking at how could we use ChatGPT in the, not only from my own perspective with planning and administration assistance and all of that, but more so how could the students use it to support their own learning, and how could we enhance our interactions during the lessons that we have. So I just asked ChatGPT there. I was trying to put together some kind of a presentation or something, and I said, well, I might just as well ask ChatGPT for its summary of what we have been doing in the classroom over the past 3 months. And I think I have the function here to share screen, Mags. Is that right? Or if not, I can just read it. I can share screen. Fantastic. Okay, so I'll just pop it up there, and it's just a very brief summary. Can you see that?
Yes.
Fantastic. So it says there you've been using ChatGPT. Now it does give itself extra added value, and it uses maybe superlative adjectives to support its own impact in the lessons. But I think it's been interesting. So with the kids, for example, we did a lot around maybe the new language curriculum and enhancing their expression, and when they're engaging in story building and things like that. And I don't know if people remember the old books you used to get in primary school, where you'd be reading a story and then you would be given a dilemma where you could choose to go left, maybe across a bridge, or straight on down a road. And depending on what venture you took, you went to a different page and a different story developed. So we did a lot of that with the kids at the moment, and it's really cool. You know, they're in an enchanted forest, and next thing there's a bridge ahead of them. They can choose to go across the bridge, or they can choose to go back, loop around in some way. And I guess it's just following the curriculum in that sense. So yeah, it's been really, really advantageous. The kids are starting to get comfortable with it. They're starting to ask it questions, which is fantastic. And we did one activity there, myself, the SNA, and the student. Myself and the SNA just kind of eased ourselves out of the room and left the student talking with the AI themselves. And it was about something, I think it was actually about fractions or something like that. So it was nice to see the students developing confidence and competence to be able to ask the AI questions, and then, you know, to ask the questions that I suppose we don't know, they don't know, if you know what I mean, or we don't know that they want to know. So yeah, early stages of it, but having great fun with it, and the kids are loving it. You know, and when they hear their names in stories and things like that, or when they're the central part of a story, they tend to engage a little bit more with it. Yeah, so that's it. Brief. Is that okay, Mike?
That's wow, my head is yeah. I'm so Kim, Astrid, these are in which year, which class? David, Donal, all these students that are mentioned here. What ages are they?
Is this me, Mike?
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's a range of classes. Sorry, so you would have so sorry, you may not be familiar with SET at primary level. So we would have there's one student who is in senior infant, so he's 6, but you would have an early intervention class who are junior infants. Then you would have your first class, second class, third class, all the way up to 6th class. So you're encompassing really ages 4 to round about 11, 12, 13 would be the oldest, but that won't happen until next May or June.
Wow, okay, that's yeah, that really is. That's something else. Something else. I'm realizing now people need to jump in and ask questions before maybe the next group of speakers. Please either put it in the chat. I don't see the raise hand on my screen. If people want, you know, the way you can raise a hand and stop things, I'm not seeing that in the reactions, but do it and see. Okay, now we've also been joined by Stephen Howell, so I can put him back in the pot here as well. I have on this screen here, share, Chris, John, Stephen, and Julie left, and I'm going to run the how do I run it? Remember the last time? I want to run my wheel. John, how do I run it? I've made it. It's on my screen. Who's next?
You might have to close it and then it'll appear.
Oh, you were so clever, but now it hasn't got my edited list. But here, let's no, remove name. We don't have Anya. We're gonna go. And we have got Julie in the house, and I know, Julie, that you have two. I'll stop sharing. You have 2 thoughts in your head, so feel free to choose whichever one suits you, or whichever one you feel suits what's going on here this evening better. You're muted, Julie.
Sorry about
Yes,
that.
go for it.
Haven't gone online in a while, so this is okay. One sec. Okay. So I'm just going to do a little brief introduction to Microbit's Create AI. So it's this new functionality that just launched last week. And it's just a great way of introducing AI through machine learning and movement. Okay, so just to, sorry, did I skip one of them? Okay, all right. So just the steps involved. So a lot of people here, I'd say, are familiar with the microbit. So we're going to use the microbit to gather our information. We're going to train the model and test the model, and then it's an iterative process. So we're just going to keep improving the model until we're happy that it's okay. But so I'm just going to move everybody out of the way so I can see. So the extra bit that's actually just been launched last week is that then once the model has been trained, we can download the new blocks to microbit. So what you need in order to do that is it has to be the version 2 microbit, and then a laptop or computer with Chrome or Edge, then the usual USB and the battery packs. So once you're connected, what's used is the accelerometer. The accelerometer checks the three axes, the X, the Y, and the Z. So we can record data from each of those. So once we're connected to the new Create AI platform, it then records the live data afterwards. So the job is then to collect some of the data samples. So you have to name an action, and you have to have at least 2 actions in order for the AI to work. So you've got 2 actions, and you have to then have at least 3 samples for each action. So for example, here, the 2 actions are exercising and not exercising. And you can just see that there were 7 samples collected for the first one and 5 samples for the second one. And you can see the pattern that's forming there in the first one with the X and the Y and the Z, and very little movement then for the second one. And then once the data is collected, then there's a button to click train the model. And once the model is trained, that's all done behind the scenes, then you actually just test the model. So testing the model, we just have a look here, and so the microbit would have been moved around, and you can see then, oh, sorry, not moved here actually. So it's resting. So 97% sure. So again, it's an iterative process. You're kind of going back and forward. You know, if you feel as if the data collected wasn't quite right, then you can go back and improve the data, record more samples, test it again, and see how it goes. And then, as I said, the last step then is that you can actually take it into make code. So in make code here, you can see these extra new blocks. Can you see my cursor as I'm moving my cursor around?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, good. So in the, this is, say, a new block. So the machine learning exercising. So this is the one, I've just taken the exercising, not the, this is the exercising sample. So we have a model created based on the data from exercising. So just as it started, we're just showing an icon. And then as it stops, we're actually grabbing the duration. So up here, people are probably familiar with on start. We're just have a variable set up for exercising time. It's set to 0. But then once we stop exercising, we grab that duration and we change exercising time by that duration. And then up here, then we just have when button A is pressed, we're just going to output the amount of time that we exercised. So it's actually really good fun. I had to go with it last week with my own students, and it's actually fun. Like, you do it in pairs, and people can run around the room and try different kind of movements. I am going to just give you a little introduction. Have I time just to show a little introduction?
Of course, of course, of course.
If I can now. There's so many things on my screen. Hang on a second. Okay, so we're going here. So if I go get started, and I'm going to go start something new. Okay, so as I said, as soon as I'm connected, I actually have the live data coming in, but I don't have any samples collected yet. Okay, so I'm moving it around here. So, so I want to see myself now as well. There we go. So okay, so I just have it here on in the battery pack. But then as soon as I add an action, so I want to say add an action, I want it to be clap. Okay. And I'm going to add a second action, and it's going to be wave. Okay, so again, no data recorded yet. So I'm going to record some data. I have to have at least 3, as I said. I have to have at least 2 actions and 3 samples for each one. So if I then click here, and I'm just going to, you can do them separately or you can do them continuously. I'm just going to do it continuously because it's quicker. So I'm going to clap. So I'm going to start clapping. And I have a few of them there now at this stage. So I'm just going to stop. Okay, so that's my clapping one. And then my wave, I go here again. And I record it here. And I'm just going to go like this. Actually, they're very similar. I probably should have picked better ones. Okay, so I might get better clap ones. Okay, so I'm just going to take the clap ones away for a sec. So you can actually, this is the whole point, that you can actually get better ones if you want. So I'm just going to take my clap ones again. And I'm just going to make it hopefully a bit better. Okay. Okay, so that one's probably similar. Okay, so you can see there's a bit of a difference now between the 2 types. And I have 3 samples, which is fine. I have 6 samples here. I'm going to shrink myself again for a sec because I can't see the screen otherwise. And I'm going to train the model here. So as I train the model, start training. And now you can see if I start clapping, you can see, yeah, it's a pretty good model. It's accepting that. And if I go wave, Sorry, oops, making a mess here. Okay, so I need to improve my wave a bit, okay, because it's looking very similar. It's not too bad, but that's the whole idea, that you're going to keep going back and forward until you're happy with the model. And then once you're happy with the model, then you can go into edit and make code. And you can see the new blocks here, and you can see the new blocks here. That's it.
She says blithely, that's it.
All right.
Julie, that's so cool. I mean, live data collection in front of your peers. I'm afraid that's really that's up there. Well, that's gorgeous. That's, I think I'm looking in here. I think Ross, where's Ross? Ross, is that your high moment of the meeting so far? I think yeah.
Yeah, it looks really good. Well done, Julie.
Yeah.
Really
Thank
good.
you.
So instead of learning about machine learning, you actually do machine learning and watch it in real time. What age group are you working with this, Julie?
This was actually students, third level students. We have a coding club for our girls, and so I knew I had to try it before I spoke. So
Yes.
so yeah, so a lot to learn, but yeah, they really enjoyed it, and they were running around the room and testing different things and coming back. You know, like you can really refine it, and that's what I like about it. It's an iterative process, as I said already. So that's they can learn by doing. Yeah, love it. I love it. Well, I love the microbit, so I love this extension on the microbit.
Very elegant, isn't it? See Paul beaming from ear to ear.
I know, that's what I was thinking, Paul, when you were doing your talk, because TY would love it.
Definitely. I also, that's a very, very tidy workshop for CESICon, Julie.
Well,
Watch my eyebrows.
oh, sorry, I'm sorry, Ceci
know.
Khan. Sorry.
Yeah, CESICon, wouldn't that be wouldn't the I think that would be of interest to quite a few people to try with students of various ages. See Dermot nodding as well. Yeah. Super, Julie. Thank you. No, I know you've something else in reserve.
Tomorrow morning.
But sorry, Dermot, go ahead.
I'll be doing that tomorrow morning. Yeah.
And we're back to the origins of CESI again, like something that you and Macintosh always said, something for Monday, something to try on Monday. Thanks a million. Thank you, Julie.
Just to tell you back, sorry,
Yes.
the other one is only about 1 minute, so it can come at the end. The other one, it's just
okay. That's great. And then on my list still we have John Mayo, Chris, and Stephen Howell. And first up, best dressed, John Mayo. What's on the agenda with you tonight? John Heffernan, folks, but we have so many John H's. We designate them by county.
Yeah, although my nickname goes long before that, so it goes back to Scouts, where we had 3 Johns, and it started off as John from Mayo until it became John Mayo. So that's where it stuck. The funniest time I ever had I'm in comment on was someone came up to me and says, "Do you have a brother called Pat Mustard?" Which, if your father died, and I have a brother called Pat, so.
And we know your brother Pat.
Yeah. So what I kind of want to talk about is listen notes. So can you see my screen? Okay.
Not yet, John.
Okay. If I hit the share button, it would help.
Here it comes.
Okay, so share notes is something I've been looking for about 20 years. I'm a big podcast fan, so one things I've always wanted to do would be to kind of create a meta list for podcasts, so I could share all the cool stuff I'm listening to. So I was learning a bit of XML to see if I could do it through RSS, because I used to work for a company that was doing like a lot of RSS. Was Sean McGrath at Congregation this year?
Don't think so.
No. So Sean McGrath was a guy I used to work for, and he was a big XML expert. So I came very close to ringing him one day to find out could he help me with this. But basically, RSS is kind of the hidden web behind the web. So basically, if you use podcasts, it's using our RSS feed. So to kind of create a mega podcast RSS feed, you'd have to learn HTML and know how to do stuff and get permissions, the whole lot. However, this site does this for me. So basically what it does is that it acts a bit like a search engine as well. So if I want to look for podcast, say on Irish soccer. I might be watching, trying to follow Shamrock Rovers or one down at the moment. It'll go off searching for our soccer, and
John,
you can kind of listen to the whole lot. So one aspect of it is a bit like a search engine, but where the
was just going to suggest, while you're speaking this to us, will you switch off your video, because it's waving in and out.
Okay, me.
Super, John. Thank you.
Is that better?
Yes, I think so.
Is that better?
I think so. Yes.
Okay. So the cool thing about it is you can create playlists. You can create lists and podcasts. So I'm the PD coordinator for Most Likely from ECP, and I've basically created I've basically created a PD podcast playlist that I can share with other people. So basically, if I come across an interesting podcast, I just add it to the list, and it gets pushed out to everybody that's using that using the listen notes URL. So from the school's point of view, is that if you're teaching languages, you could be using this as a way of sharing podcasts or news items or music songs, whatever, anything that you can find within listen notes. At the moment, it's free. It's very, very easy to use, and I absolutely adore it. And the Most Likely are using it. So that's it.
Oh, super. I don't think we missed anything of it, John. Thank you. Thank you. So listen notes is gone on the wish on the wish list. Thank you. Thank you. I was typing here. Stephen Howell's also having problems on connectivity. So Chris, I'm going to set you off next, if that's okay, and hopefully Stephen will get back in to the proceedings.
Sure. So I'm delighted with myself now, because I'm going to go exactly the opposite of all the technology, as is my want. So I'm just going to talk, and Mag, stop me at any time, because you know very well how I tend to waffle. So genuinely, I mean that, because I have a presentation. It's only 4 slides. I won't talk much about it, but then I can show you loads of pictures afterwards. So I just want to talk about a project that we've just finished, in September. We did in September. So if I push a button, then hopefully, let's see if I do that, and I push this button, then hopefully you can see, yes, that's green, and I should be small there. Okay, so I'll run through this quite quickly. For people that don't know me, my name is Chris Reina. I'm the CCO, the Chief Cardboard Officer. I have a small affinity for cardboard, and I can't see any of you because my screen is blanked now, but I know some of you are certainly laughing. So I have a company called MakerMeet. We do STEAM workshops in education and stuff like that. So the project that we just completed was a very big project called Construct a Building Project. So I'll just give you kind of the history of it, just a background of it first, very kind of straightforward, just so you have an idea. So in 2018, we partnered with Kerry County Council and kind of an offshoot of them called Architecture Kerry. Architecture Kerry is just for lack of a better description, a festival that celebrates architecture, funny enough. And it can be anything from old stone clachons up to, brand new buildings, to factories, to bridges, kind of anything, anywhere. So it's just kind of to get people interested in architecture. So they brought us on board to work with students, kind of all ages, generally primary, but this particular project started working with secondary students. So in 2018 to 2023, the very first one we did in 2018 was a cardboard creations workshop. So that workshop was just bringing some cardboard into libraries, in fact, and sometimes classrooms, and just getting kids to build stuff with it. Preferably kind of buildings and things like that, but just to build stuff. After that, we went a little bit bigger and we just made bigger stuff. And that was very unstructured. We brought a large pile of cardboard into libraries and schools, and we dumped it all on the floor and we said, off you go. Build stuff. And they did, and it was fine and wonderful. So we kind of did both of those, plus we augmented those with other workshops, other kind of architectural ones, geodesic domes. Again, people that know me certainly will know my fascination with that. Paper tower challenges, Da Vinci Bridge, catapults, 3D modeling, that kind of stuff. So kind of in 2022, 2023, we developed a more specific workshop for the architecture carry, and that was Make a Town, and that was all about town planning. Now I have to say I knew very little about town planning, so I had to do a lot of research, chat to town planners, in fact, and from there we got students to talk about what goes into making a town. Infrastructure, water, electrics, roads, that sort of thing, and then the sort of stuff they wanted in the town. And being a maker, we then got them to make a small A3 size town. So that kind of brings us up to 2024. In 2024, this year, we basically said, well, let's go a little bit bigger. And after some conversations, lots of conversations, we came up with the Construct a Building project. So this project was essentially, we got secondary schools in Tralee. There's 5 secondary schools. We worked with 4 of them. One school didn't want to take part. We worked with 4 of the secondaries in Tralee, and we got them to build a building, a full-size building. Well, maybe almost full-size. So what we used to do that, okay, the materials we use, as you can see there, cardboard, little things called screws, 3D printed connectors to hold things together, paint LEDs. We never actually got to the servos, as it turns out, but that's okay. And we never didn't need twine or rope. We use different kinds of tools. So we use things like electric scissors, cardboard cutters and saws, screwdrivers, scoring tools, scribes, cordless screwdrivers, that sort of thing. Okay. So the requisites for the project, okay, so the kind of things that they had to do. It had to be a freestanding building and self-supported. So in other words, there couldn't be anything else holding it together except for cardboard. Couldn't lean against a wall, couldn't do anything like that. Okay, it had to have a roof. It had to have a working door and or a window, whichever they could choose, or both if they wanted to. And some of them chose both, actually. It had to have some sort of aesthetic merit. We didn't really care very much what it was. And it had to be big enough for me to stand in, basically. So they were the only kind of guidelines they were given. After that, we gave them free rein to do pretty much whatever they wanted. And the 4 schools came up with 4 really, really different constructions, I suppose. So the kind of learning outcomes that we wanted to achieve and did by and large achieve them were things like critical thinking, the creativity, collaboration, communication, the ability to be very flexible in what they were doing, to take and work on their own initiative, to plan out the project, because it was a big project. It took 4 weeks for each of them to do, probably 5 sessions altogether with each of the schools. Then we want them to develop their own social skills, work together, and then to kind of time management. So just to give you some numbers.
1 more minute, Chris.
Thank you very much. Yep, it's very good. I'm coming right to the end, so that's very useful. So just some numbers. So kind of the number of schools were all 2nd level schools. The number of participating schools where there was 4 secondary schools that did it. We had, give or take, about 130 students altogether. We had 21 in-person workshops. So we dealt with the schools 21 times. There was 2 of us doing it, myself and my colleague Brendan. There was about 4 weeks altogether for the project. Total time was about 43 hours on site, about 37 hours off site. And the whole thing was then exhibited in the library the local Trinity Library, for 2 days. And just to give you a very quick number of pictures, that was the kind of, it's hard to see that, I'm sure, it's probably not very big, but that's the kind of what it looked like. It's a poor angle, but there's 4 different buildings. There's one on the right, there's one directly in front, one in the middle, and then my colleague Brendan is there next to a slightly smaller one as well. But they're the only ones that got theirs painted and have a very interesting roof. So I won't go too much further, but I have loads of other pictures I can show you, but I won't drop into those pictures because otherwise I'd go way beyond me time, and I don't want to do that. So this is just some of the connectors that we 3D printed to hold some of the things together. But the system, and if I go back here, hopefully that will dump me out of there. Yeah, so the system that we used, just again, kind of very quickly, I have examples here. I'll just hold them up. So to hold the cardboard together,
30 seconds.
Oh, wonderful. We use these little things. Oh, God. It's hard to see, called screws. So as you can probably not see very well,
Yeah,
so they are basically plastic screws, reusable. And the threading is, again, if I can move my camera a little bit close, the threading is much wider to hold cardboard. And then you get a tool. So this is the tool that goes with it. It's just a hex. And the screw, the end of the screw, that's poor. Fits on that. The kits also come with a little saw, but the saw is entirely safe for students, so I can try and cut myself here. I know there's something you don't see very often in a Zoom call, and clearly it doesn't do that. So those are the kind of things that we did. That's just a quick synopsis. The project, from our point of view, certainly was a wonderful success. The kids got to put hands on, they got to build a really large structure that, frankly, they were all extremely proud of and that they were able to walk into. And we managed to do that, again, just looking at the stats and the numbers, in the space of about maybe roughly 5 hours per school. Something like that, roughly around 5 hours per school. Some a little bit more, some a little bit less. And that, I think, was remarkable because to build something that was big enough to walk into, which is kind of why we chose cardboard, also because I love cardboard, but just the idea of that, we couldn't use steel, we couldn't use wood, we couldn't use metal, anything like that. So that's the overall thing. So that's all.
Well done. Well done, Chris, Reina. And will you put the link to the where you buy the little connectors?
Oh, sure, of course. Yeah.
Put the link in because it's an amazing system. And when you put the amazing system and the cardboard and Chris, Reina and Brendan together, you do see some terrific learning. And Chris, Reina, you're the only one who's charming enough to say, "Ooh, I better wrap up now because I'll be going over my time," when you're already gone way way.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
That's okay. I'm far too polite. You all know I'm far too polite. But Chris, tell me, how did you make the teeny tiny Chris and do your whole presentation inside your window?
So it's all through OBS, using a piece of software called Open Broadcast System, OBS. And I can probably, if the cord is long enough, yeah. So I have a little thing here called a Stream Deck. Yeah, I'll try to see. And I have stuff programmed into that for OBS. So all I have to do is I have all my scenes changed. So if I hit that one probably, yep. So that's my screen. So when I was presenting, I just went that. And me sitting here, as you can see, is just literally just a different scene. That's all. I'm just bigger and smaller. That software is all free as well, if anybody wants it.
Am I the only one who didn't know this? I thought it was kind of cool. I could still see all of yous, but I could see teeny little Chris doing his teeny little presentation, and I kind of thought it was cool myself. So thank you so much, Chris. And as I said, it's not always digital tech that gets our kids thinking, thinking about constructing and telling stories. Right. So we have one more story to roll through before we open it up to the floor, I think. Or did we lose him? Stephen, are you still here? And then sorry, Stephen, for 1 second. There's Emma, there's Neelis, and there's Ross, who are lurking in the background. So please, if any, and we've heard from Natalie, but Natalie may have more to say. If there's something going on in your school at the moment that you need us to hear about, please feel free to throw it in a few minutes. But I'm going to hand the floor to Stephen, who might be leaving his camera off for the same reason.
No, I can't switch it on. So
Oh.
it's not that I don't want to switch it on. I have
Oh.
very expensive and fancy camera, but Zoom is behaving very
Kate?
strangely today.
Kate, is that you? Pat, are you a host? Can we? Is it Big Brother?
I don't know.
No, I
just-
think it must be Stephen's camera.
Okay.
it was working earlier on, but I had to join
Yes, I
Zoom
did
in the
see you
browser.
at some stage.
Thank you. I've been given permission to start my video.
Oh,
Thank you.
it was Big Brother. Okay, Big Sister.
No, I don't know. It won't start for me anyway. So you can hear me though. That's the important thing. Let's see if I can share my. No, I do not have the ability to share screen either. So,
Oh,
I'll let someone else go, and I'm going to leave and rejoin in the hope that I can switch on my video and share my screen, and someone else can have my slot.
okay. Well, you're my last official slot, but I have a funny feeling, Natalie. And here's Jeremy Kerr and Paul DeLacy. I missed those names. Are they just joining?
Go
Are they
ahead
just
and
joining now?
Stephen, if you want.
Paul, Paul is here, and Jeremy, good to see you. Good to see you both. Natalie, you were starting to tell us something. Do you want to finish that story earlier on?
Okay, give me 2 seconds. I like, how many people here have made AI tools themselves? Like, I don't want to be saying something to people that they already know. Like, they're so super easy to do, and they look so impressive. So what I can do is, if you want, I can show you how they're done, like very, very quickly. Do you
Yeah,
want me
well,
to do
very, very
that?
quickly. If you can do what you wanted to teach me, as long as you do it very, very quickly.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, within reason. We are
Within
live.
reason, yeah, fair enough. All right, give me 2 seconds just to
Okay, big shout out for
see.
the OBS streamer here. OBS
Yeah, I wish I had
streaming.
that right now. Can I share my screen? And hopefully,
Oh yeah, and while Natalie is preparing, yeah, it was Make Do. I presumed it was Make Do, Chris, but that is that's a hell of a site.
Yeah,
Right.
it is, and they've just released a new thing as well, which adds movement to it, which is really interesting. There's also one thing I didn't mention. Look, I'll shut up as soon as Natalie's ready. But
can you see my screen here now or
We
not?
can, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
brilliant.
yeah.
We'll give Nat the floor, Chris, and
All
we'll
right.
come back to it.
So let me see. Okay, I'll see if I can get the one I was working on at the moment, Living the Life. So this is PlayLab. If I go create app, at this on the left-hand side, you can use it. On the center here, you can you basically have a template, and you fill in the template. And the template is like, it tells you, but there's an assistant over here. And if I go back to the beginning of the conversation, I told it what I wanted. So I said, I want to make a choose your own adventure suitable for teens in Dublin. They need to get a job and will have several options. Some temporary, others full-time. They need to find a place to rent, some expensive, some place close to work. And it made it for me. So I copied it and pasted it into the center. And then I have this, I'll go back and I'll launch it instead, just so that you can see Living the Life there. So if I share this with a QR code, share it with a link, we go here and we go start. I'm just going to have to move this over. Sorry, move this out of the way, because all that stuff, it doesn't look good in that it doesn't look very clever, but it's actually quite interesting. So welcome. Do you want to do a college course? I could go to UCD, I could go engineering, I could go to Trinity, I could go straight to work, I could work in Duns. This is Irish based, which is the beauty of it. So I could be an apprentice electrician. So I can say, okay, I want to be an electrician. Now, I didn't put that bit in. I just did the really basic stuff at the background. This is telling me that I'm going to earn 250 week or per week, etc. And I can choose where to live, and it'll actually take me through a year and tell me that I'm doing well, and it'll give me options, and my bike will break down and stuff like that. But that's it. It's as simple as that. You can make them. I made that in class with kids after they had to play with another one that was very American based and wasn't suitable for them. And that's me done. If anybody's any questions, just
Yeah.
shout out.
When you say you made that in class with kids, what age group are we
Yeah.
talking about here?
Leaving certs.
Leaving certs.
So they're 17, 18, very disengaged.
You said that you mentioned
generally-
LCA.
Pardon, say that again?
Was it LCA you mentioned?
LCA, yeah.
Okay.
The previous week they'd come to class very chill and a funny smell.
Huh?
You know, like these are very hard to engage kids. And
my
they actually
gosh.
worked for 60 minutes in a row with me on this, which was really quite cool. But I'm doing similar ones for lots of different groups, and like it's great that you can just tailor what you're doing for the kids and the groups exactly what they need. But they're super quick to make.
Okay.
And if anybody wants to send me their email, I can give them I can give them a link to join PlayLab. They can skip the waiting list.
And you said it's Irish. This is an Irish startup or an Irish company?
No, it's American, but it's kind of, they want to be like kind of Scratch. They're non-profit. You don't have to pay anything. They're very much education. They're funded by lots of different companies. But the guy is brilliant. A guy called Yusuf. I'm actually going to give a 2-session webinar on how to do it. It'll be a very slow.
Well, will you put that in the chat and the details of it?
Yeah, it's Tralee Education Centre. I'll see if I can find it there.
Yeah. Cool. That's super. So I'm wondering if Stephen, are you good to go now?
I will try, but I think
Okay.
the video is going to be very delayed. So you're seeing the video from 2 minutes ago because it's so slow. Right, okay. I'm going to try sharing my screen. I may switch off the video if my audio is choppy. Please tell me.
There's a delay on it now already, so turn it off.
I'll switch it off.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to share a window and sharing. Okay. Can I get a thumbs up if it's sharing, or a acknowledgement somehow?
It's sharing, but it hasn't. Oh, here we are. We're in.
Okay. So, folks, I'm not suggesting you sign up to Blue Sky, but if you do, I had to because I just wasn't racist enough for the other places. And in the new place, you may have seen that lots of people have really cool handles like lukevandankerscoid.com and webgoddess.org, one of my former colleagues. And some people have something in their handle .bsky.social. And if you thought, why can't I have the cool one? I'm a cool person. I want a cool handle. Well, if you went into your settings and you were looking at your account, and maybe you saw that my account has a very cool handle. I'm showell.cloud, and you were very jealous and said, I want to have a handle like that. Well, fear not, you can have a handle like that. If you go into your account and your email is separate from your handle. So you can see my email there, but my handle, when it comes up, it says, right, you can change this, but it's going to end with .bsky.social. But at the very bottom, you can see I have my own domain. Now, some of us who work in tech are very addicted to buying domains. It's a terrible affliction. I hear it's like, as bad as, gambling and alcoholism. But, if you manage to defeat it, you might end up with a registrar like porkbun.com. which I recommend. And in porkbun.com, you can see that I have managed to defeat my addiction and I'm down to just one domain name. And I won't show you how many I used to have. But this one domain name is .showell.cloud. I own this. I have to pay for it every year. And I was thinking about registering a new domain like CESI.fyi. Now, I may have registered the first CESI meet handle on Twitter and drove several people quite batty trying to figure out who had it, but it was me. I admit it now. I handed it over to Helly and a long time ago. I'm getting a message that my resources are not good. I can buy this for $3, $3 American a year, and it'll renew at $5.64. I'm not going to do that, but I highly recommend someone in CESI does that, because then if you liked CESI.fyi for your information, you could go over to your official account here. You click I have my own domain, and it will give you 3 separate values, 3 special codes. You come back over to Pork Bun, where you had previously bought your domain, and you'll see underneath the domains you own, DNS and NS for name server. You can modify these. You can change them so that 2 things happen. One, your Blue Sky account will check, is this legit? Do you actually own it? And it's a special code that only you have that you put in there. And that means it'll show up as your handle. But it doesn't change where showell.cloud goes. So you can still tell someone your special domain name, and it won't bring them to Blue Sky unless you want it to. It'll still bring them, say, to the CESI list on Google or wherever it is you want. So it's now double jobbing. It's your my internet is so slow now. Nothing's actually happening, and none of you are moving, so I don't even know if you can hear me. But
Yeah,
it'll
we can
double
hear
job
you.
if I had internet access, which I don't appear to have right now. So
You got it.
good. So you'll have it as your handle on Blue Sky, in my case. And if, as you can see, I can't even load a web page, but if you go to showell.cloud, you'll see that it's very slowly loading for me, my personal, here we are, finally. And there you go. That took a while to appear. And folks, if I recognize many of you, but some of you I don't know. I used to be in CESI a lot, but I'm no longer a teacher. But I still like to join CESI to see my old friends. So next time on a TeachMeet, I'll show you how to set up a page like this in 2 minutes without having to know any HTML. Okay, and that's it for me.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Stephen. That's great. You can unshare your page now. Yeah, I'm gonna echo what Stephen says and do a shout out for buying your own domain. Kate, you're an English teacher, a room of one's own, but a domain of one's own. I didn't realize it. You know, it really is a thing. It's buy your own domain and own your own space, and it's not that expensive. I think it's $50 a year. I use Reclaim Hosting, but there are lots of others. And Kate, you use Reclaim as well, I think. So it really, the way things are going, everything's getting fractured. You know, it's time to go back to the blog, go back to we have the original RSS man in the room, John Mayo as well. So I need to double check. I see Ross, I see Neelis, I see Paul DeLacy, I see Jeremy Kerr. Now, they weren't on my list for saying anything, but if there's anything from your end of the universe you want to shout in, now is your chance, because it's open to people now to go back to anything they want to. Just for those who came late, we had Paul Behan brought us up to date on ideas. They're not set in stone yet, Paul. I think sure they're not. Your work, the ideas that you're looking at for AI in TY. You can. There was a big AI thread through tonight till we got to the cardboard. We had Kieran give us an amazing overview, just a corner of an overview of AI in higher education. So we had TY, we had HE. Julie was working with sort of live live data collection in Make Code for second level students. Dermot was looking at what he's doing in AI with primary school students, but everything everybody talked about is applicable to the other levels. And what I like in TeachMeet is we had almost nothing from exam-based, almost nothing tonight from exam-based work. It's just broad general computers in education. Chris had the cardboard, John Mayo with the listen notes, something to for us all to pick up. And who did I miss out on? Stephen now with the domain, controlling the naming of your own domain. And I think that was us all. Natalie, definitely with the play labs, something to find. That's me done. I've stopped bossing everybody around. It's up to questions and answers, and what do you bring into school tomorrow?
School tomorrow, voting.
Sorry, I missed someone there.
Can I raise something there, Mags, if you don't mind? No, I don't know how this is going to look. How are you getting on?
You most certainly can.
No, it's a bit off flank, so I've nothing to show. Sorry, I'll tell you what I'm doing. I sat down, planning to be very attentive, but I'm trying to start out the selfie tool, so it's gone absolutely berserk on me. So I'm completely frustrated. Anyway, where I'm going with this is I did a little bit of a project with 3 schools in Asia on AI. And I had all ambitions on what I do with my class and all the rest of it. But I was basically, my KWTB and my ETB have issues around the use of AI with students and sharing data and personal data, to the extent that I was advised, whatever the term is, advised not to go ahead with it. So anyway, that was put a kibosh on that. But where I'm going with this is what we did was we did chatbots. So on ChatGDP, there's a brilliant facility where individuals, and I'm sorry I can't show it to you now, set up chatbots. So basically you can upload the information, the curriculum or the coursework that you want to do with the kids, and then they can basically interrogate it. And I think it's absolutely super, and I'd love to do more of it. So if you can imagine, you have your course notes, you have all the information that you would want the students to work from. So you don't have put up extra information or information going off on tangents and anything. You're just working with the information you have up there, and the student comes along and asks, I'm a construction studies teacher, I have a whole load of information up there, compare doors and windows, what are the considerations in installing doors and windows? That's never a question, you'd never ask that question, but the chatbot will come back and answer it based on the notes. So there's lots of little clever things that you can do with that. So anyway, that's just my tuppence worth there. And I'm trying it out there. It's a kind of
Thanks, Neelis. It's funny how our main subject always comes back. All your examples come from construction. This is me doing wait time now, by the way.
I was just saying that.
Kieran, are you in?
Yeah, sorry, just going to comment to Cornelius. There's also a thing called Notebook LM, which is the Google product, and Notebook LM. Somebody has actually put it up there as well. So
yeah, it's better. It's better than the chatbot. Yeah.
Well, you can put 50 documents up into Notebook, and you can leave them there, which is the benefit. The only concern I would have, well, the main concern I would have with all of these things is that when you upload documents into an LLM, you're allowing it train on those documents. So if you put documents that are generated by your organization up there, if it's not a public document, then somebody's going to slap you on the wrist at some stage, because
exactly, and that's
the difficulty. Yeah. There are emerging platforms in this space. I'm going to put you onto one, but it's by no means the only one. It's called Boodlebox. terrible name. I'll just type it in. It's out of San Diego.
All the best ones have the crappiest names.
But it's well worth having a look at, because what they're trying to do is they are trying to solve all the problems, in fairness to them. So they have solved the problem around equity of access. They have all the main LLMs and a load of the other AI tools that are of use in education on their platform, and it is relatively cheap. So it's something just to look at. I looked at it and I was absolutely astonished with what they're able to do with it. But it's, as I said, only one of many that are coming out. But they are focused on education, and they are trying to solve the problems like equity of access, like data security. So, for example, they have already done a deal with all the LLMs that none of the content uploaded to their platform can be used for training. So, and it's also secure, and it's also deleted after 30 days. So that they are, and they're very open to talking to people about, you know, how do we make this better? So it's one product worth looking at.
Cool. And it's in the chat there.
Yeah.
Actually, if someone thinks of, before we're leaving, when we're tidying up, if someone grabbed the chat, save the chat, it's always a mine of good stuff when we're done. Do it yourself, they said to her. Natalie, you were gonna
Yeah,
say something
just
there.
that notebook LM, one of the nice things, especially if you're working with kids who have dyslexia, etc., is that you can actually create a podcast by the stuff that you've uploaded. I put one up on X that I put up the guidelines for race, reasonable accommodation for certificate exams. And there's two of the cheesiest, corniest presenters discussing the race guidelines. Now, I did sit and listen to the entire half-hour episode that took me about 3 seconds to create. And it was right, it was accurate. Apart from they call them the Race E guidelines, and I couldn't find a way of editing it. But for somebody who was new to a topic, it was a really good overview. It actually was brilliant. And they were interacting with each other as if they knew all about these race guidelines. It was gas. But it'd be a great way of a kid with dyslexia who's good at listening to stuff to learn about any topic.
Cool.
The latest version of ChatGPT, I'm not sure whether it's the free or the premium version, has the option to switch on a microphone whereby it'll speak the answer to you rather than you trying to have to read it. So that's another benefit for people with dyslexia.
That's been available on the app, the phone app, for a good while, and it's really, really useful. Really, really useful.
Cool. I'm learning here, folks. Definitely at a rate of knots.
There was somebody, and they're probably here, that was at one of the conferences, and they were talking about two of the phones had that model where they could talk to each other. I can't remember who it was. Somebody here is going to remember it. But they had an earlier model talking to an older model, and they set them up to date each other. Do you remember that? That was absolutely hilarious. It was really funny. So the two phones were talking to each other about setting up a date. And one of them was saying the date was going to a swim all around Ireland. And the earlier model was saying, I can't do that. I'm an AI model. I don't have any arms. I don't have any legs. It was very funny.
I think that was
Can't remember who it
Richard
was.
Millwood and Pam O'Brien the night before the conference.
That was absolutely hilarious. That's one of my favorite stories about AI, I think.
And we just got it in before the comments started coming.
Okay, folks, we've officially about 10 minutes left. You can stay in this room as long as you like. And on the mention of conference, can I just say that at least 6 times tonight I've gone, we need that at the conference. We need that at the conference. The kind of things that people are bringing up here, you think it's no big deal for yourself, but it is a big deal to share it with others. So have a think, and I think you have until, Kate, are you listening?
When someone
have
said
until the
conference, I came
13th.
back out of nowhere.
Yeah, no, that's fine. But it's still the 13th, I think, to do
We're
that.
hoping to close the call. We're a bit later than normal on the 13th of December, so that
But
we
we would look very favorably upon TeachMeet people who were a tiny bit late. Like a
we would
day.
also like to get the program done before Christmas so we can take at least a couple of days off from conference planning. So
CESI never sleeps.
yeah, don't I know it.
CESI never sleeps.
I'm
Now I'm
there, and I've archived a lot of the links and stuff too on Blue Sky. So
cool.
and
Paul Lacey, I'm looking at you, wondering what's happening in your life.
well,
CESI-wise.
I'm with IJ at the moment in the primary STEM team,
Mhm,
so
mhm.
we're considering putting in a proposal. So I'm glad you mentioned it there.
Please do, yeah.
For a workshop using the Amplify Polypad, so free online resource for virtual manipulatives in the area of maths.
Super. Yeah.
For that would suit primary and junior secondary certainly. So it's something we're considering. So hopefully you'll hear from us.
Okay. And without telling us state secrets or anything, have you hit the ground running, IJ? Is it flying?